Hello and welcome to Empires of Today. I'm your host, Rafael Riasa. We have our four topics stacked up, which we will be going over for 90 seconds or less each. Let's go ahead and start with the war in Iran. So, the war is continuing to escalate at this point. The Memorandum of Understanding, which was meant to last for 60 days, did expire yesterday, although in actuality, and in practicality, it expired quite a bit before then, considering there were many straight days of strikes for the past few weeks. What's going on now, though, is that the USS George Washington, another aircraft carrier, is actually on its way into the region, coming in from the Indian Ocean. This is a major escalation considering that there are no planned talks. And on top of that, the United Arab Emirates has completely ended trade with Iran, while Trump is threatening Oman, which is the country right across from the Strait of Hormuz, with bombing them if they continue to attempt to negotiate and create plans with Iran to charge tolls going through the strait. Now, the strait is open to a degree. There's about 14 ships going through it. 90 should be the actual number that are going through. And the US does have nominal military control over the strait. At this point, Iran is getting pushed back into a corner. And as long as this situation continues, I don't know how much longer they are going to last, but this is definitely nowhere near to the end of the war, especially considering that Iran has now called for a $30,000 reward to anybody who can kill or capture a U.S. service person. So here's to hoping that we near an end, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. As far as Russia and Ukraine, Ukraine did conduct what is its most successful attack directly on Moscow with 600 drones hitting Moscow. Only 160 to 170 or so were actually able to be stopped by the Russian military. Now, this targeted oil infrastructure, it targeted military infrastructure, but it also took out a large portion of another wild berries warehouse, which of course is the Amazon of Russia, and continuing to really just degrade its economy further. At this point, over 47% of Russian oil capacity has been debilitated, with massive lines stretching for, I mean, almost miles in front of gas stations. People are getting more and more frustrated with Putin, while Putin is now threatening the UK with consequences, considering that they've been sending drones over to Ukraine, many of which were actually used in yesterday's strike against Moscow. It does look like Russia as well is being pushed into a little bit of a corner, given that does get a little bit dangerous considering that they do have nuclear weapons. So, as far as European involvement in the war, it is good that the UK is taking a bigger role in that. And really, let's hope that the West can really finalize both these theaters of war, which are most certainly connected, and continue to bring more prosperity and peace throughout the world, and of course for the West. Now, in South America, Colombia actually got hit by a 7.4 magnitude earthquake, which follows Venezuela's earthquakes, the double earthquakes that hit only about 42 days ago. So this is pretty significant considering how close it was. Now, the death toll doesn't near anything close to what Venezuela's death toll is, which is over 6,700 confirmed dead at this point. Colombia, there's about 300 that are confirmed dead, many injured, but the government, which was recently elected, is definitely having a lot more success in terms of its rescue and its rebuilding efforts. At this point, the UN has estimated Venezuela's destruction to being about $50 billion worth of damage, of which Venezuela only has about $200 million in order to actually put in. Now, when it comes to foreign help and aid, a lot of countries and organizations are very skeptical in giving too much aid to the Venezuelan government, which is obviously not a legitimate government. So that is really hampering the efforts in actually being able to rebuild, and the situation is becoming more and more dire. Hopefully, this leads to more significant and quicker political change in Venezuela so that they can have the essentially same level of effort that is being seen in Colombia's reconstruction and in Colombia's rescue efforts. Now, as far as some more domestic news, the US and Canada is forming an agreement to potentially revive the Keystone Pipeline, among a lot of other economic and trade negotiations which are being conducted. Of course, the Keystone Pipeline being the largest of it. Trump has actually paused tariffs on Canada for 3 entire days while this is being negotiated. And of course, the Keystone Pipeline would be a great benefit for both Canada, the US, and also Europe, as the West in general starts to get away from reliance on Middle Eastern energy, obviously Russian energy, and, oil coming from anywhere else in the world that's not specifically here among the Western allies. Now, this is going to obviously allow for crude oil reserves, which are some of the largest in Canada, to be directly connected to oil refineries in the US, and it will greatly help the economy. There are some significant environmental issues that need to be mitigated, but when it comes down to it, the US and Canada are most certainly the best equipped to be able to build a pipeline with the highest level of technology and with the most consideration in regards to the environment. Definitely more than, say, China, say, Russia, or anywhere else in the world that can attempt to build this level of infrastructure. So let's really hope that this is going to happen. Obviously, the extremely liberal Canadian government of Carney and before him Trudeau supports the Keystone Pipeline. The Canadians want this to happen. So clearly, the environmental factors have been taken into account by them, and we really need to get this thing built and lose our reliance on foreign oil. That's all we have for today. Please like and subscribe, and please don't forget to click the link in order to donate to the situation down in Venezuela as well as in Colombia. I hope to see you next time. Bye.